You've heard of adding and subtracting fractions with the same denominator and different denominators. But have you heard of multiplying and dividing two fractions? Or better yet, dividing or multiplying a fraction by an integer or vice versa? Well, you probably have, but that's not the point. The point here is that those are the topics we're going to be covering in this video. So let's dive in and try not to belly flop. So to start off by multiplying fractions, I have written an example of two fractions that we can multiply over here. Now let's start on how to multiply them. So that this doesn't get confusing, I'm going to show you a diagram so you can visualize it as we go along. So the equation is 1 over 2 times 3 over 5. So it's asking, what is 3 over 5 of 1 over 2? And yes, that sounds really confusing, I know. But let me elaborate a little. So let's say we have a pie or a pizza or any other round thing you can eat. And it's cut into 2 pieces. But you don't want a half piece. That's too big for you. You want 3/5 of that half piece over here. So what do? You divide this entire thing by 5 into 5 pieces. And if you're doing it to this side, you have to do it to this side too. Because you can't exactly do it to this half without not doing it to this half. That would make it look a little strange. So now you have 3/5 of your 1/2 over here, the one that I circled. So how many pieces is that of the pizza or pie or whatever round thing you're eating? Well, you took 3 pieces out of, first of all, it's not 5 pieces, because if we put 5 pieces here, we'd also divide the other half into 5 pieces, as I said before. So it would quite literally be 5 plus 5, 10 pieces. So we took 10 pieces out of, we took 3 pieces out of 10 pieces. So that's our fraction. And a quicker way to do this is you just take these 2 fractions and you multiply the numerators together to get 3, and you multiply the denominators together to get 10. And there you go. It's 3 over 10. The same result we got. It just took us a lot less time. Now, doing this with numbers like integers is really simple, even though it looks kind of weird because we have a fraction here and then we have an integer here. But in reality, integers are just wholes of a piece. For example, 4 in this case would be 4 wholes of 1 piece pies, pizzas, or whatever round you want to imagine. So 4 as a fraction would literally be 4 over 1. Like, I'm not kidding, it's just 4 over 1. And this is the same for every integer you encounter. Let's say you have this huge number, 1, 2, 4, 5, 4, 3. If you want that as a fraction, you would just quite literally go 1, 2, 5, 4, 3 over 1. That's your fraction. So this equation turns into 2 over 5 times 4 over 1. And we already know how to solve this. Multiply the numerators, you get 8. Multiply the denominators, you get 5. Boom, there's your answer. So 2 over 5 times 4 is 8 over 5. Now, dividing isn't the same as multiplying, but it is similar, as you'll see in a minute. So let's visualize this. we had the expression 1 over 2 divided by 1 over 6. And I have two equal-sized bars over here. The first bar is split into 2 equal pieces, and the second bar is split into 6 equal pieces. Now, what the expression is asking of us is really simple, even though it sounds really complicated. How many 1 by 6 pieces can fit into a 1 by 2 piece? And let me show you what that means. So this is one of the pieces of the 1 by 2 piece, right? And this is the same piece, like the same area piece, but on a different bar, the 6-piece bar. So how many pieces are in the section that I just boxed on the second bar? There's 1, 2, 3 pieces. So since 3 pieces can fit into a 1 by 2 of a bar, the answer to 1 over 2 divided by 1 over 6 is 3. Because as I said before, 1 over 6 pieces can fit into 1 over 2 piece. And again, another really easy way to do this and bypass all of that is just like, let me show you this thing again. You just take the reciprocal, and you might be asking, what is the reciprocal? So the reciprocal of a fraction is when you just switch the numerator and denominator. For example, 1 over 6 becomes 6 over 1, 2 over 7 becomes 7 over 2. You get the point here. And what you're going to do is that you are always going to reciprocal the second number of the expression. So 1 over 2 divided by 1 over 6 becomes 1 over 2 times 6 over 1. Because multiplication is basically the opposite of division. And then we multiply the numerators together, we get 6. We multiply the denominators together, we get 2. And since fractions kind of act as dividers, so this is basically telling us what's 6 divided by 2. And that's really easy. 6 divided by 2 is 3. So we got the same answer either way. And it's the same thing with integers. You just switch them around. For example, 1 by 2 divided by 6. So since, remember what I told you, 6 is equal to, and as a fraction form, 6 over 1. So this would just quite literally be 1 over 2 times, divided by 6 over 1. Then we take the reciprocal of 6 over 1, and we get 1 by 2 times 1 over 6, which is equal to 1 over 12. So you can do the same thing with integers and fractions, since we already know how to convert an integer into a fraction. Now, you might be asking, why does this work with different denominators and numerators, or the same denominators and numerators? How does this work the same for both? Well, for addition, for adding to fractions, you have to make them the same denominator because you're adding them, and you always keep the denominator the same, and you can only add fractions with the same denominator all the time. It's a rule of math, because that would be, if you don't, that would be like adding an apple and an orange together. It doesn't make sense. That's the point. But for multiplication, all you literally have to do is multiply the numerators and denominators together. So it doesn't really matter if the numerators or denominators are the same or different, because you're just multiplying them together at the end of the day. So it doesn't really matter. And same with division, because it just leads to multiplication. This is it. You've made it to the end of this video. you at least somewhat understand multiplying and dividing fractions a little better because of this video. If you liked the video, you can like, comment your feedback, or subscribe. It would mean a lot to me. Thank you for watching, and see you in the next video.